inquire with the chair the time remaining.
The gentleman has 5 minutes remaining.
5 minutes. Thank you, Madam Speaker. And I'd just like to recognize my great friend from Texas, Mr. Chip Roy, who's been on the front lines of this issue. And when people say, I just want to add this, Chip, I don't want to take from your time, but people often say to me, well, what would you cut? What would you cut? Well, you know what I would cut from the state and foreign ops budget? Money going to the UN to pay for people to come to our country and cross our border illegally. How about cutting that? Sir.
Well, I would agree with my friend from Pennsylvania. I appreciate you having this time on the floor, and I appreciate my colleagues from coming down. The state of Texas is on the front lines, under siege. The communities that I represent, dealing with the scourge of open borders, the dangers that are provided by cartels and the illegal elements that come across the border on a daily basis, and this body does nothing about it. This week, we're going to entertain legislation that will do nothing to combat China. Nothing to stop China from continuing to run rampant around this world, violating human rights, undermining our national security. And we're going to put together a nonsense bill that's a Green New Deal agenda, pacify and appease China bill, when we should be saying what the woman from Texas said to the coach of the Miracle on Ice hockey team, beat those commie bastards. That's what we ought to be saying. That's what we ought to be doing. But no, here we sit, doing nothing. But you know what we are doing is we're sleeping while our border's wide open. But worse than that, the Biden administration and Secretary Mayorkas are taking purposeful steps to open our border, disregard the law, and to fail to faithfully execute the laws of the United States. And our country's in danger. And Americans are dying. Americans are dying specifically because of the actions of the Secretary of Homeland Security. That's what's actually occurring. We have fence rusting in fields in Texas. We have contracts that aren't being paid. In fact, we're paying people not to work, not to build the fences. We're not using migrant protection protocols. We're not using Title 42. We're releasing people into the United States against federal law. And we are not doing anything to actually secure the border. And therefore, the Secretary of Homeland Security should be impeached for it. I'll make one final point. Jen Psaki, the White House press secretary, stood at the podium and laughed about our commentary about the borders being open and our streets being unsafe. And she lied. She lied about Border Patrol agents whipping migrants. It was purposeful, and it was done to divide our nation by race, the same kind of division that has the President of the United States choosing the race and the sex of the Supreme Court justice, the same man who blocked Janice Rogers Brown, blocked a black woman Supreme Court justice, blocked an Hispanic Miguel Estrada because he's Hispanic, because he's not the right kind of Hispanic. That's the truth. That's the truth of a president and an administration that wants to divide our country by race. They want to lie about our Border Patrol agents, and they don't want to do a dang thing about it. I yield back to my friend from Pennsylvania.
If you'll join me in a colloquy in the remaining 2 minutes, my good friend from Texas, Mr. Roy, we sent a letter asking for the report, didn't we, on this, these Border Patrol agents that had been suspended for allegedly whipping these Haitian illegal crossers. And of course, it never happened. Even the reporter, the photographer that took the pictures said that it never happened. The only thing that was abused or whipped was the truth and the reputation of our fine Border Patrol agents. Where does that stand right now?
Well, I'm glad the gentleman from Pennsylvania asked the question. It stands nowhere. They're not giving us any report. They said it would be a couple of weeks away, and I can tell you why. Because the report will demonstrate there was no whipping. It was a lie. And they owe an apology to those Border Patrol agents who are being abused on the front lines, having gunfire shot at them, dealing with COVID. No apology.
No apology. What about to the American people for lying to the American people and creating this division? Didn't our chief executive run and say that he was going to unite the country? Didn't he say that? He was going to unite the country. Isn't this an opportunity? Release the report. Look, none of us are perfect. We all fall short. I think we can agree. That's
Amen.
One thing we can agree on.
Amen.
When you fall short, is there something wrong with apologizing for your failures? Is
no.
there something that would
help? The president should apologize for that, and the president should apologize to every parent of a dead American kid who takes Xanax and dies with it laced with fentanyl because we have open borders, and the secretary knows it.
And the secretary knows it, and the secretary just went to the border, right? Talked to the Border Patrol, and what did they tell him?
And the Border Patrol was saying, what are we doing? We're doing nothing. And that's what the Border Patrol is saying. But my colleagues on the other side of the aisle wouldn't know that because we never have hearings inviting the people on the front lines to talk and actually hold the Secretary accountable.
Well, I thank my colleagues from the Freedom Caucus for coming and talking about what's happening on the border. I know that the left and the majority party in this House refuse to do it. Certainly the president refuses to do it, but we don't refuse to do it. We're going to do it because our country's in peril, our families are in peril, our community's in peril, and somebody's got to say something and do something about it. Madam Speaker, with that, I yield the balance.
Thank you,